Yes, hello and welcome to Release the Creative, your favorite show about creativity, cognition, and this week, Mom, I caught the virus.
Really?
I couldn't think of anything else, really. I mean, I figure people are going to think we're talking about COVID, which we're not.
Yeah, no, definitely. They'll be thinking we're talking about COVID. So what are we talking about?
Virality. I remember it was a few years ago when the term like a viral video became this big thing. Like, ooh, a viral video. And after that term got coined, so many of our clients would be like, yeah, we want a video online to go viral. How much does it take to get a video to go viral? And it just became this like buzzword, about things catching and spreading. And so right now in the pandemic, I wanted to talk about virality and about how things catch and spread, but from a communications standpoint.
Yeah, well, I know the internet makes everything seem new and fancy, but that reminds me of the story I told you a while back about when Jack Welch bought NBC, General Electric.
Oh, yeah.
Big, they made airplane engines and power plants and stuff, and they bought a television channel,
like you do.
Network, and but they were full of engineers, and I don't know if it was in his memoirs or someone else's, but I read that Jack Welch was at some sort of event, and one of his like top engineering guys was talking to him. He's like, "Oh, so you just bought this TV network?" And Jack Welch is like, "Yeah, we're hoping to make some money off of it." He says the new TV season's coming out, and we're trying a bunch of new shows. And the guy says, "Oh, why do you try so many?" And Jack Welch says, "Well, some succeed and some fail." And the engineer looked at him and thoughtfully said, "Well, why don't you just make the TV shows that succeed?" That's a
wonderful question.
Very logical question, I guess. But we apply that to the internet these days. But this has gone back all the way.
No, it's the number of people that were like, "Yeah, I made a video and it didn't go viral." Like, yeah, like less than 1% do, less than 0.1% do. Like virality is really interesting. So I was talking to you and some other people about this a while back think about, when we were kids, every 10 minutes of television was 30% of it. 3 minutes for every 30 minutes of television, there was 3 minutes of ads.
7 minutes. 22 minutes per show.
Yeah. So 7 minutes of ads. So you really were 3 minutes out of every 10. You were watching like 2.5 minutes of every 10. You were watching a commercial, which was someone's brand, which was someone's face, which was what they wanted you to know about their product. What's really interesting to think about this in retrospect is how many of them do you remember, like specifically? Like, I remember that commercial.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Old TV commercials are kind of like dreams. Like, it's hard to think of one, and then as soon as someone points one out, I'm like, oh, I remember it perfectly.
So this is a really funny story. There I was, the streets of Fresno, California. I was 19 years old. Me and my roommate we didn't have a car, and we decided we were going to go get Slurpees, like you do. And it was hot. It was California, Fresno, middle of the summer. We're walking to the 7-Eleven that's 2 blocks away, and we're going to go get some Slurpees. And so we're walking down, and I don't know why. You've met me. I'm always kind of humming or singing something.
Yes.
Just a nervous tick, I guess. And I started out of nowhere singing, wait for this is fun. I don't know if you're going to know this one, and I'll know instantly why you do or don't. Off in the distance, the game's dragging on. There's strikes on the batter, some runners are on. And suddenly everyone's looking at me. My mind has been wandering, what could it be? They point to the sky and I look up above, and the baseball falls into my glove. I play right field where it's important to know. You gotta know how to catch, you gotta know how to throw. That's why I play in right field, way out where the dandelions grow. Have you ever heard that?
So, first of all, in the big book of Kirk that we're writing, I want it to be known that this is the second week in a row you've told a story about walking to a 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee in the heat.
No, I didn't.
Last week was the Saudi Arabia story.
That was a Baskin Robbins.
Oh, you're right. Okay, well, consider me just. I
was going for a
milkshake
I was going for a milkshake and a Baskin Robbins, Jeff. Totally different.
Totally different. Okay, I am totally wrong. Strike that. Number 2. No, I have no idea what you're singing.
So that was a Pizza Hut ad that ran in exactly one place. And it was a full 1 minute, 2 minute, 90-second ad on the beginning of the VHS of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 1989 movie.
Interesting.
The funny thing about this is, the reason I bring it up is, so I just sang it, whatever, and I got a half a stanza in, and my roommate started singing along with me. And we sang the whole thing in perfect 19, 20-year-old harmony, again, like you do. And we get to the end, he goes, now let me ask you a question. I was like, yeah. And he goes, Ninja Turtles? I was like, yeah. Because
that's it.
That's where it was. Like, I never saw, it was like a long ad, and I never saw it anywhere else, but you can always spot the person our age. If you start singing that song and they sing along, they watched Ninja Turtles. And I, to this day, can see every frame in my head because I was 8. I was going to get up and go fast forward. I hit
on the
play.
movie.
I watched, and there was no other trailers on it. That was just that one. And it's interesting to think back to what commercials you remember and what ads. That was Pizza Hut. I remember the Alka-Seltzer song too, and I've never bought Alka-Seltzer in my life.
I remember the Noid.
I remember the Noid.
Which has to be a level of age that isn't remembered anymore. That's been a
Why
while.
do I associate the Noid and Max Headroom? Were they associated in any way, or are they
No, they're just that same kind of weird creature that the 80s loved. There was also the 7-Up dot.
The spot. Yeah, I was just about to say. I also remember the 7-Up spot dot, whatever. I remember cartoon mascots of cereal being a bigger thing. There was the Trix Rabbit, there was the Tony the Tiger, there was the Lucky Charms guy, the Nestle Quick Rabbit.
Yeah.
Where did all that go? Did we just age out and they not replace it?
Yeah, well, I think when
Saturday morning cartoons died, and
mostly Saturday morning cartoons died, and when they killed Ronald McDonald, I think everyone else kind of got the message.
Well, Ronald McDonald's still in use until 2014. They didn't actually officially retire him until the Clown Massacres.
Yeah, but I'd say past 2000, he was way less important.
That's true. The last actual Ronald McDonald ad I remember is when they launched the Arch Deluxe.
Yeah, like
like 2001.
At that point, it was just like, oh, he's our mascot. But in the 80s, there was the whole McDonald's land. It was it was
Grimace
all the characters. The
Hamburglar and Grimace and whatever the girl was. She was like
a bird. I think it was just Birdie, but
Birdie, something like that. No, and it's interesting to see how advertising has changed. It used to be that we had this you had this persona, and you still do, but your persona was very manufactured and very presented in 30-second segments, and it was presented to you in a very structured way. And now it can't be.
Anything goes.
Now, I mean, before, if all of a sudden your brand was caught in something bad, your publicist came out and made a statement which sounded nothing like your commercials because it was a different department with a different message and a different goal. Your lawyer or your publicist would be like, make a response. The one that springs to mind is the are you familiar with the cyanide in the cyanide in the Tylenol, or was it aspirin?
Are you talking about like in the 70s?
It was I think it was 81 or 78. I don't know. Yeah, it was
around then.
Yeah, and I mean, that certainly wasn't an ad, but all of the response was from their C-suite and was from their PR people. But there was no to-the-minute communication to the brand. The brand came out, made their statement, and that was it.
I remember when I was a kid, if a company really cared about something, they would take out a full-page ad in the newspaper.
And that was a big deal. One of my favorite things of that is so Anne Rice, when she's the writer of Interview with a Vampire and that whole line of books. When they cast Tom Cruise as Lestat, she threw an absolute tantrum. She's like, Tom Cruise is not Lestat. No, Lestat's like dreamy. Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise. You can't do this. And then the movie came out and like, I'm not a Tom Cruise fan or a Tom Cruise hater. Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise, but he crushed it that cast as a whole was awesome. She took out a full page ad in Variety to apologize. Like, dear Tom, I was wrong. You were magnificent. Love, Anne. Because that was the way you made a big statement. Now she'd have tweeted it. Like, hey, Tom, I was wrong. You were marvelous. Would have been a lot cheaper. But the downside, the upside is now we are having this 100% constant two-way conversation with our brands. And that has led to some really interesting dichotomies, like the Old Spice guy, who was both a commercial and had a Twitter account. And at the height, these numbers are not to the minute. I could check right now, but I'm not going to. At the height, I believe it was 4 million active Twitter engagers. Mm-hmm. That's 4 million people talking to their soap on a daily basis. That's insane. But it's the world we live in now. It's a very different...
Yeah, and we will talk about that a little more when we get back. We're going to take a quick break.
Cool. Hey, Jeff and I wanted to take a minute just here at the top of the show to say thank you for joining us on our new podcast and YouTube show, Release the Creative. Whether you're new to our brand of crazy or you followed us over from one of our other social media platforms, LinkedIn, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter, we'd like to thank you for joining us here. Please take this moment to hit the subscribe and the like button and also that funny little notification button so that you can be notified of all our new episodes. We're really trying to get this new show up on the road. Thank you so much for watching.
So we are talking about commercials, and it's funny. These days, a lot of people have streaming services.
True.
But I never had when I got married. We never had cable TV.
Right.
So we were a little bit ahead of the curve there. We mostly did DVDs, and then we were early Netflix people. And so my daughter was born in 2007, and cable TV was still strong then, but we didn't have it. And so she didn't grow up watching any commercials other than maybe at the beginning of the Disney DVD.
Right, which are other Disney things.
Yeah, and so I remember she was about 5 or 6. We went on vacation to the beach. So this is around 2011, 2012.
Sure.
There's a beach house. They had cable TV downstairs, and we just turned on cartoons for her. We're bringing all the stuff in for the beach house.
Sure.
And we turned it on, and we're putting groceries away in the kitchen, and she comes running up the stairs. She goes, Mom, Dad, there's this castle, and there's a little princess, and it goes in it, and you take the pony, and and then she goes on and on and on, and we're just staring at her. We're like, what are you talking about? And she's like, she keeps going on about this castle and this pony and this thing and this thing. And after about 2 minutes, we're like, she just saw a commercial and she didn't know what it was. She's never seen a commercial before. She had never seen the TV come on and show her a toy and tell her that she needed to buy it. And it was like just this, like, we didn't even know what was happening.
Raw cognition right there.
Yeah,
like,
just
raw.
Immediately. And so, yeah, it was just kind of crazy. And
that's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, it's like I grew up with commercials, so I don't remember that point where I saw my first commercial.
No, and it's really interesting to think about. So, last week we talked about how certain things sound certain ways, and they sound that way for, if you want to know what a president sounds like, that's what a president sounds like.
Yeah.
And if you want to know what this, that's what, and for a large part, it's because that's the most effective way to talk to that audience and talk in that way. And so to be a truly, commercials follow a pattern because that's the pattern that works. And to be a completely blank slate, like Samantha was at that time, and be fed like a cognitively tuned
fire hose,
like, man, that's actually pretty fascinating if you think about it. Like, that's just I would love to take children and do experiments on them. This is going dark real fast. Like, have them watch commercials on an fMRI.
These days it should be even easier to find, like, not every kid, but you could probably put out a tweet and be like, has your kid never seen a commercial? And how old are they? And I bet you'd get some responses.
Oh, yeah. Especially in super liberal urban and super rural.
Yeah, no, we live by Netflix and Hulu now. And like,
yeah. Yeah. There still is, my parents still have DirecTV and use it and fight over, did you delete that thing from the DVR? And I'm like, oh, geez. To quote Sheldon, I'm not saying we should beat all old people who refuse to embrace technology, but if we did it with a few, maybe the rest would try harder. So, yeah, that was from The Big Bang Theory, for those who didn't get the Sheldon reference. No, so I don't know if you were alive and on the internet in the last few weeks, you heard about the TikTok star. He wasn't before. He's verified now because his car broke down. So he got on his longboard and went to work while listening and made a TikTok of Fleetwood Mac's "Dreamin' While Drinking Ocean Spray." It was not an ad. It was not an endorsement.
Just a TikTok.
It was just a TikTok of, well, I guess this is how I'm getting to work today. Good vibes, good fall vibes. Drinking cranberry juice, fall colors behind. I mean, he was like riding down the freeway, and he's like, whatever, man. I'm just gonna vibe. And it went massive viral. to where people started copying it. And they weren't necessarily doing the ocean spray thing. They were doing other things. This one guy in a pumpkin head did a pumpkin spice latte and poured it on himself. And
That's the first one I saw.
yeah, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and all these things, and more people doing ocean spray, to where Mick Fleetwood got on TikTok to do a response to drink, and he was drinking ocean spray. It getting so big that the CEO of Ocean Spray did one of him riding a skateboard,
It was like an electric skateboard, right? Is that
probably. I don't remember. I think it was a real skateboard. I don't think it was
he just works downhill.
I guess. And so it's this thing that Ocean Spray didn't plan that or pay for that. They didn't.
That dude didn't plan it.
That dude didn't plan it. It was literally like, well, I can't get to work. I'm not going to let this bug me. I'm just going to vibe and listen to some Fleetwood Mac, which is a band that is now back on the charts, on the top 10, despite the fact that their last album came out, I don't even want to say a year because people will be mad when I'm totally off, but not recently. Like, not in my...
It's been a while. Yeah.
20 years. I mean, Stevie Nicks, Mick Fleetwood, they're all like awesome influencers of the past generation. And much like Wayne's World did for Bohemian Rhapsody, all of a sudden Fleetwood Mac is being introduced to the younger generation in a very interesting way. Cranberry juice has become a thing and Ocean Spray not only couldn't have paid for that, but had they tried,
it wouldn't have worked.
It wouldn't have worked. So now we have this interesting dichotomy of how do we, back to that, I remember the Pizza Hut song. How do we bottle those moments? How do we recreate those moments? What can we do to get, and when that happens, when suddenly our brand is at the top of the charts, what do we do to capitalize on it?
Yeah. Now, so it's interesting. I get the sense that, and you can't plan for this stuff, but in retrospect, you can armchair quarterback it.
Absolutely.
The way you describe that video is he's going with the flow. He's not letting the car breaking down get him down. He's like, basically everything you said is like, that's what people after 8 months of COVID want. Like,
right.
That's the response.
This year's been a dumpster fire, and they're like, hey man, his car broke down. I'm just
so yeah, it's like that's why that succeeded. But 3 weeks ago, you couldn't have come up with that.
Right. And the thing is that, and there's a, I hate this word, authenticity to it, because had you taken a room full of me's, like people that have studied marketing and studied communication, and put them around a board table and said, how do we cling to the life of hope? And that's not what they'd have done.
Yeah.
They would not have put a dude on a skateboard on the side of a freeway jam into Fleetwood Mac. It just wouldn't have happened. That's not... because it was the true authenticity of that moment. And that's what people loved, is it wasn't staged. It wasn't fake. It was truly him. So then the question becomes, in the subsequent, anyone who's listening to this now probably knows what Ocean Spray did do, but I'm going to pretend like you didn't. So twist ending. In some of the subsequent interviews, it kind of came up that one of the reasons that he drank cranberry juice, and that much cranberry juice because it was the big family bottle, is because he's very 420 friendly and he likes to pass drug tests, and cranberry juice helps keeps you flowing and flushes him out. And so all of a sudden, here you are, the CEO of Ocean Spray. You're at a table with your PR guy, your marketing guy, and your lawyer. You're like, well, our demographic is largely like moms and stay-at-home dads in the Midwest. Like, do we touch this? Like, what do we do? What do we do? And that's a really real question. Like, there was talk of, they need to make a commercial with him. Like,
yeah, but is it your brand now at this point?
And again, I'm 420 friendly. I would have been like, I have no problems there. But then again, there's a large part of this country that, even with the legalization becoming more and more popular, there's a large part of this that is still remarkably conservative on marijuana, and Ocean Spray coming out and going, yeah, man, you're awesome. It's not a PR scandal. It's not a problem at all. But
It's a choice. Yeah, no, my first job out of college was I was doing video production for a large corporation, and one of the first assignments I got was they were giving a prize to their 5 millionth customer. This is all phone sales, and it turns out that like when you are selling hundreds of policies every second, who the 5 millionth is actually a list of about 40 people.
Right, because who started the call first, who closed the call first. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just not fair, right?
And so
they had to vet who their 5 millionth was.
They picked one. Like they narrowed it down and they went through them, and they're like, oh, this guy's a dad in California, and it was like a young dad, and and they gave him the prize and put it on social media or whatever. I did a little video about it, but yeah, they chose him because they had to pick somebody.
They had to pick somebody, and if you get to choose, you choose wisely.
Yeah, so Ocean Spray didn't have that ability.
No, and that's a really interesting, and I mean, I don't want to go super down the rabbit hole, but like, there are other situations of that where throughout history, casting sort of matters when you're trying to get your message out in both directions. Ocean Spray didn't get a choice. Their brand was out there, and he was out saying, and he wasn't saying anything disparaging. He's like, yeah, man, I love cranberry juice. It's great.
But do you embrace him or ignore him? Yeah.
And if you ignore him, isn't that kind of saying something? And, there have been, everything is a little bit of casting. And so what did they do? Because his car had broken down, and instead of putting him in an ad where they would literally be putting
him in an ad,
which is a big gold check mark. And I am not in any way saying I have no knowledge that they were doing this to distance themselves from him. This could have been fueled by completely other motives. I am claiming no inside knowledge here. But what they did do is they gave him a cranberry red Nissan Frontier truck, the bed full of cranberry juice. So it's this big red truck full of cranberry juice. I'm like, hey man, we're sorry to hear your car broke down. Thanks for enjoying Ocean Spray. Because now they did a nice thing. Any way you cut it, they did a nice thing. They get to have not be directly supporting. It's a win all the way around. And like I said, maybe that's not why they did it. Maybe they really just genuinely don't care. And they were like, oh no, this was just the best idea. Cool. But like, it really was. It allowed everyone to win. He gets a car. He put it all over social media. They put it all over social media. Everyone. It ends up being this thing. But now, whether you like it or not, that's part of the Ocean Spray brand.
Yeah.
Much like Wendy's Twitter is now part of the Wendy's brand. It's an interesting in this day and age.
Let's coin that. It works.
Yeah. In this day and age, your brand is so much more. It always was, but your brand is so much more than your logo. Your brand is this entire user experience that what once was Ronald McDonald in 30-second documentaries that played 3 times in a 30-minute cartoon is now an immersive multi-channel experience that goes from Twitter to commercials when you see them, to billboards, to this what star is eating your hamburger on this hit TV show. And what used to be very encapsulated is now insanely immersive.
Yeah, I saw a Reddit about a fast food place that I won't name because I don't know if it's true.
That's fair.
But it was a fast food place that had like some sort of murder or robbery took place in it, and the police came, and the story went that the management said, well, we're not going to help the police because we don't want the bad publicity of like a murder investigation in our store. And so of course on the internet everyone's like, they're terrible people, and it might not be true at all. So like that's why I don't want to repeat it, but it does illustrate the idea that people understand that what happens in real life is so immediately connected to social media that the idea that something in real life could impact the brand so badly that you wouldn't want it to happen in your store, even if the story's false, the fact that people thought it was true shows that we understand that.
No, and I mean, and again, this is we could do 17 podcasts about what I'm about to say, so we're not going to go down the rabbit hole, but like, think about all of the cell phone like police videos we're seeing now of this cop doing good, this cop doing bad, this cop doing we live in a world where you are always visible, and so branding is ever present for the good and the bad. Or the number of Karen videos we see screaming, and how the Target employee, Walmart employee, post office employee handles that interchange, even though being on camera is not part of their job, but someone in line captured it, and Karen was screaming, and how Jim or Jane handled that encounter, be they management or cashier, becomes part of the brand.
Yeah, like I don't know how Starbucks advertises. I don't see Starbucks ads. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I guess they've untargeted me correctly. But whether they're doing web ads or TV ads or whatever, I will say that my one exposure to Target is seeing videos of people freaking out. I'm sorry, in Starbucks.
Sure.
Is seeing people, freaking out in Starbucks or like causing a scene or something.
Really?
Like, just like you said, like viral videos
I don't
of like
know that
somebody.
I've seen many of those in Starbucks specifically.
Just people being getting in fights with somebody, or like nothing to do with coffee. It's just Starbucks is a location where people interact, and so it happens.
And people standing in line for a long time
Getting
with their phone in their hand.
Yeah, they're already their phone in their hand. They're frustrated because they're waiting, and they bump into someone. And
Yeah, and I mean, the Karen culture is getting kind of fun, and I feel really bad. We have several friends that are honest to goodness named Karen, and they're all lovely.
They're all of them the sweetest.
They're the sweetest people I know, but like that name, Karen, it's official. Like,
and this to go into another. This could be a whole episode, but it has gone now where there's a it's a fuzzy line, but there's always this. There's the true Karens of the world and the way the word is meant.
Yeah.
And then there is honest to God mentally ill people.
Oh, yeah.
And there's that blurred line between the middle where you start watching a video and you're like, oh, look at this entitled lady. And you're like, oh
no.
No, I shouldn't be enjoying this.
She's having an episode of some kind. Someone call her doctor.
Yeah. And so it's weird that all of social media is like that, where it's like it can start here and then people take it here.
They're really, again, this could be a whole episode, and it probably should be, but there's also an interesting, this does come back to communications and virality as well, where there's a lot of kind of this, it goes to cancel culture, which is you'll take this person who's a decent individual, male or female, and they are a good person, and for the most part, and a mistake they made actively or passively or in the past or suddenly surfaces through the wonderfulness of social media, or they get in a fight with their girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever, and they make a clearly bad decision. Like, I'm not defending, they are wrong, and everything else of value is gone. It doesn't, like, we are so quick to just cancel people because, well, I can't eat at Jimmy John's because the CEO spends his money in a way that I don't like. Like Big Game Hunting, if you didn't get that reference. And it's interesting how we love to hinge with communication and this virality. We love to hinge on the things that stick with us, and it's not always the important things.
Usually it's not.
And again, if Ocean Spray had been given $1 million, if Ocean Spray took $1 million of their dollars and said, we want to make an internet sensation video, they wouldn't have done that. There was the reason that was so good is because it was so obviously, they wouldn't have cast this guy. Like he's a Native American guy. He has a tattoo of a feather on his shaved head. He's very kind of just rough, like cool looking. His name's Nate Dogface, I believe, on TikTok. His real name's Nathan. I can't say his last name. It's
Nathan Dogface.
Yeah, Nathan Dogface. They couldn't have created it. There was something just so authentic about it, and there was something just so like, I guess I'm bored into work. And Ocean Spray caught flack for not jumping in sooner, and then they got heralded because they did the CEO thing, and a lot of people said, well, that was too late. But there's such a delicate dance with multi-sensory engagement now, and because of all the things we talked about, if they'd have jumped in the next day, would that have killed it? I think so. If Ocean Spray had jumped in and claimed it right away, it would not have gotten critical mass.
Yeah, people want claim they want companies' involvement, but that's usually the last word on a trend.
Absolutely. And so, but then, had they jumped in earlier or like jumped in wrong, now we have super conservative Midwest people saying like, well, I can't drink their juices anymore. I guess I'm going to Tropicana instead of Ocean Spray because, they support family values. Like, because they support it. Wow, that's a logical leap. But it wouldn't be an unreasonable leap this day and age.
Disney World got in, air quotes, trouble for allowing groups of gay people to purchase bulk tickets.
Oh yeah, because they're like, I can't believe you have gay days. We don't have gay days. Well, what is it like? That is an independently organized event.
We let people buy tickets, and we're in trouble for that. It's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's such an interesting dance. Do you do nothing? Do you endorse it? What if Ocean Spray had come out and said, whereas we like this individual and we appreciate that he enjoys our product, we do not endorse the using of our thing to flush drugs from your system. We are a Christian organization. Like,
yeah, it's probably worse than nothing.
That would be. But there are people that would have been their corporate identity.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I guess the takeaway here is just that saying nothing is bad. You have to be a part of the conversation of your brand. You've got to be a member of it. That doesn't mean being a Karen and jumping in and being like, and monitoring it on throttle, because this grew naturally and it wouldn't have if they had tried.
Yeah.
But you have to be a part of your own conversation. You have to be spreading your own message, and you have to be cultivating other people spreading your message. And I think that, again, I don't know how much of this was reactionary and how much of this was calculated, but I think they crushed this one. Like, I mean, they waited the right amount of time. They responded in the right way. They rewarded him correctly. And if you think about it, like, it didn't cost them anything. Like,
less than a TV ad.
$25,000 for a truck, like, that didn't cost them anything.
Yeah.
Way less than they'd have spent on it than an ad. And it was just done, and I think they crushed it.
Well, good lessons that we've all learned from Dogface.
Yes.
So, we will be back next week with more. This is Release the Creative. Remember to check us out on YouTube or wherever podcasts can be found. Thanks for joining us here at Release the Creative. Kirk here would never say it to your face, but he thinks you should like and subscribe to us on YouTube.
And Jeff is far too shy to admit it, but he thinks you should subscribe to us on your favorite podcast reader.
Yeah? Well, you're the one who's always saying that everyone should give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
Why do you have to make everything so difficult?